Thomas Brennan walked into Elite Performance on a Tuesday morning looking exactly like what he was. A man who'd given up. Not dramatically. He'd given up quietly, the way most people do. By accepting that the best parts of his life were behind him and what remained was just maintenance. Keeping the marriage functional. Keeping the kids fed. Keeping the appearance of contentment intact. He was 41. 17 years married to Sarah, a woman who'd stopped looking at him with desire approximately 15 minutes after their third child was born. 3 kids who loved him the way children love furniture. Useful, reliable, barely noticed until it's gone. A job in insurance that paid well enough to afford the life everyone told him he should want. He'd gained 43 pounds since the wedding. He wore cargo shorts and t-shirts from corporate 5 Burmese chots, and looked apologetic about occupying space. I knew all of this before I met him because Sarah had called ahead. "My husband needs a trainer," she'd said, her voice crisp with the efficiency of a woman who managed everything like a project. "He's let himself go. I got him sessions for his birthday, but he needs someone who won't let him quit." What she meant was, make him look better so I feel less embarrassed. "I can do that," I'd said, already planning exactly how I'd destroy him. I was 26. I'd been training clients for 4 years, but I'd been studying men like Thomas my entire life. Men who'd traded passion for stability and convinced themselves it was maturity. Men who looked at their wives and felt nothing but the dull ache of duty. Men who were so starved for genuine connection that the smallest taste would make them lose their minds. Thomas was perfect. Not because he was attractive or rich. He was perfect because he was good. Genuinely, devastatingly good. The kind of good that comes from never allowing yourself to want anything that might disappoint someone else. Good men are the easiest to destroy because they destroy themselves trying to do the right thing. When Thomas arrived for our first session, he looked exactly as described. Apologetic, embarrassed, wearing gym clothes that hadn't fit properly in 5 years. "I should warn you," he said, not meeting my eyes. "I'm really out of shape. I'll probably be your worst client." I smiled. Not the professional trainer smile, but something softer. More intimate. "You won't be. But I need you to do something for me during our sessions." "What?" "Stop apologizing for existing." He looked at me like I'd slapped him. Like no one had ever suggested his existence didn't require an apology. I'd found the crack. Now I just had to widen it. The first month was a study in calculated intimacy. I trained him hard but not cruelly. I corrected his form with my hands, touches that lasted just a second longer than necessary. Professional enough to seem innocent. Intimate enough to register. I'd let my fingers trail across his shoulders. I'd stand close enough that he could smell my perfume. I'd make eye contact during rest periods and hold it until he looked away first. But the real seduction wasn't physical. It was psychological. "Tell me something," I said during week 2. "When was the last time you did something just for yourself? Not for Sarah. Not for the kids. Just for you." He thought about it, breathing hard, sweat dripping. I don't know. "That's the problem," I said quietly. "You've forgotten you're allowed to want things." I asked him questions no one else asked. Not about his job or his kids, but about him. What books did he use to love? What music made him feel alive? If he could spend a day doing anything, with no obligations, what would it be? Most of the time he couldn't answer. He'd lived so long as a function of other people's needs that his own desires had atrophied. So I taught him how to want again. Carefully. Strategically. I'd mention books and lend them to him. We'd talk about them after sessions. I'd send him music. Songs that were beautiful and melancholy, about longing and roads not taken. I'd tell him stories about my life that were vulnerable enough to make him feel trusted. Special. My mom spent her whole life being what everyone needed, I told him during week 3. She died at 53. Never traveled. Never painted, even though she'd wanted to be an artist. Never did a single thing just for her joy. I watched her disappear, and I promised myself I'd never let that happen to me. He looked at me with recognition. He saw his future in my mother's past. "I think I'm disappearing too," he whispered. "I know," I said, my hand on his arm. "That's why I'm going to help you remember you're still here." By month 2, he was arriving early and staying late. He'd text me questions that didn't need asking. He'd find excuses to come by on days without sessions. The transformation was visible. 20 pounds lost, posture straightening, eyes becoming clearer. But the real transformation was invisible. He was waking up, and I was controlling what he woke up to. I started sharing more personal details. About my ex who didn't appreciate me. About feeling lonely even in crowded rooms. I made myself vulnerable in ways calculated to make him feel like a hero. Like he could save me the way I was saving him. "You're incredible," he said one day. "Sarah doesn't. I mean, it's just nice to be seen." "You deserve to be seen," I replied, holding his gaze. "You deserve so much more than you're getting." I let the implication hang there. More than you're getting at home. That night, he sent his first text that crossed the line. "Thank you for today. For everything. You're changing my life." I waited 30 minutes. "You're changing your own life. I'm just showing you it's possible." The next day, I wore tighter clothes. Touched him more frequently. Laughed with genuine warmth. I was turning up the heat so gradually he didn't notice he was burning. Month 3 was when I made my move. Sarah came to the gym unannounced. She wanted to see what she was paying for. I was ready. Professional, friendly, complimentary about Thomas's progress. I mentioned how much he talked about his family, what a good man she'd married. Everything technically true. Everything designed to make her feel secure. She left satisfied. That night, Thomas texted, "Thank you for being so nice to Sarah." Me. "She seems lovely." "You're lucky." Him. "Sometimes I'm not sure if I am." Me. "What do you mean?" Then he wrote it. 3 paragraphs about feeling invisible in his own home. About Sarah treating him like a roommate who happened to contribute sperm and a paycheck. About lying in bed next to her and feeling more alone than when he was actually alone. I didn't respond immediately. I let him sit in that vulnerability for an hour. Then, "Can we talk?" "Not here. Somewhere private." We met at a coffee shop 2 towns over. I wore jeans and a sweater. Nothing provocative, but I looked good. He arrived nervous, guilty, excited. The look of a man about to cross a line he'd never crossed. I let him talk for an hour. Perfect attention, perfect empathy. I validated every feeling. I made him believe what he was experiencing wasn't a midlife crisis. It was a legitimate awakening. That he'd been asleep and was finally waking up. "I shouldn't be telling you this," he said. "This is inappropriate." "I'm not just your trainer," I said softly, taking his hand. "I'm your friend. And friends tell each other the truth. The truth is, you're dying in that life. And you don't have to." His hand trembled. "I can't just leave. The kids." "I'm not telling you to leave. I'm just telling you that you're allowed to feel what you're feeling. That wanting doesn't make you a bad person." But I was telling him to leave. I was planting seeds so carefully that when they grew, he'd think they were his own idea. When we left, he hugged me, long, tight, desperate. I whispered in his ear, "You deserve to be happy." That night at 2 a.m., "I can't stop thinking about you." I waited until morning. "I can't stop thinking about you either." The affair started the following week. My apartment. Thursday afternoon. He'd told Sarah he had a double session. We both knew what we were doing. We both knew it was wrong. And we did it anyway because I'd spent 3 months making wrong feel like the only honest thing left. He cried after. Real tears of relief and guilt and gratitude. "I love my wife," he said, trying to remember. "I love my kids. I'm not this person." "You're exactly this person," I said, holding his face. "You've always been this person. You've just been pretending to be someone else for so long you forgot." He came back the next week. And the week after. I made him feel alive in ways that were intoxicating and addictive. I became the drug he didn't know he needed until he'd had a taste. I pushed him further. Asked him to leave. Asked him to choose. "I can't keep living 2 lives," he told me after a month. "I have to make a choice." "Then make it," I said. "Choose me. Prove that I can make you destroy everything." Sarah found out because I made sure she would. I sent a text to Thomas's phone at a time I knew Sarah would see it. "Last night was perfect. Can't wait to see you again." The confrontation happened on a Sunday. "Are you having an affair?" He could have lied. But I'd trained him too well. "Yes." "With your trainer?" Yes. Do you love her? And here's where my plan worked perfectly. I love her. And I haven't felt alive in years until I met her. Sarah gave him an ultimatum. Me or the family. He chose me. For exactly 3 weeks, he chose me. Moved into a hotel. Started divorce proceedings. Told everyone he was leaving his marriage because he'd fallen in love. The fallout was spectacular. His mother disowned him. His daughter stopped speaking to him. His son told him he was disgusting. Sarah played the victim perfectly. Everyone believed her because the story was easier than the truth. Thomas became the villain of his own life. And through it all, he looked at me like I was supposed to make it worth it. I ended it on a Tuesday. 3 weeks and 2 days after he'd left his family. I can't do this anymore, I said. What do you mean? His face went white. I left everything for you. My marriage. My kids. My entire life. I never loved you, I interrupted. The words were surgical. I never loved you, Thomas. I made you fall in love with me, but I never felt the same way. The silence was devastating. You said you loved me. I lied. Why? His voice cracked. Why would you do this to me? And here's where I could have been kind. But I'd come this far. Because I wanted to see if I could. You were this devoted husband and father, and I wanted to see if I could make you throw it all away. And you did. Easier than I expected, honestly. He looked at me like I'd killed him. So this was all. What? A game. No. It was a study. In seduction. In psychology. In how easy it is to make a good man destroy his own life if you just make him feel special enough. I left my family. My kids hate me. Sarah is never taking me back. I destroyed everything because I thought. Because you thought I was your soulmate? That's the problem with good men, Thomas. You're so desperate to believe in meaning that you'll create it even where it doesn't exist. I showed you attention, and you mistook that for love. But it was never love. It was just me being good at my job. Your job is personal training. No. My job is transformation. And I transformed you. From a devoted husband into a cheater. From a good father into a deadbeat. From a man everyone respected into a cautionary tale. He left destroyed. Not angry. Destroyed. Like I'd reached inside and pulled out everything that made him who he was. Thomas tried to go back to Sarah. She said no. Not out of anger. Out of dignity. She'd already filed for divorce. Already told the kids Daddy wasn't coming back. Already moved on. The divorce was brutal. He got every other weekend with the kids, and they spent those weekends barely speaking to him. He moved into a 1-bedroom apartment. Became known as that guy who left his family for his trainer. I heard he dated for a while, but nothing stuck. How could it? Every relationship haunted by the knowledge that he'd destroyed his family for a woman who'd never loved him at all. Me. I still train clients at Elite Performance. I still specialize in transformation. And sometimes, when I see a devoted husband walk in looking apologetic for existing, I wonder if I should do it again. Not because I need to, but because I can. Thomas was a devoted husband and father until I became his personal trainer and made him fall in love with me. I studied his weaknesses, exploited his loneliness, and taught him to mistake attention for love. I made him believe he was waking up when really he was just destroying himself in a different way. And the worst part? I don't regret it. I don't regret showing him that devotion is just another word for martyrdom. That love is just strategic vulnerability. That the difference between a good man and a bad man is just opportunity and justification. I made a devoted husband and father fall in love with me, and in doing so, I proved something I'd always suspected, that goodness isn't real. It's just the absence of the right temptation. Thomas found his temptation. I was his temptation. And I destroyed him with it, carefully and completely, just to see if I could.